Hey you guys, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in. We're going to jump into today's video, and that's going to be do what's good for you. This is a broad topic, but we're going to break it down together, okay? Now, I want you guys to think of something. Whenever you do anything in life, whenever you eat, drink, do anything really, how does it affect you? You see, everybody is a little bit different. Now, I'm a huge believer in challenging yourself and doing things that are hard and getting outside of your comfort zone, facing your fears, right? That's really important to grow as a person. It's also really important for your spiritual walk. But I wanted to talk a little bit more on more of the earthly things, right? And the reason I want to do this is because there's so many people out there who believe in so many different things, right? If you were to look at all of the scientific journals and all of the studies, and you were to listen to all of them, guys, you couldn't eat or drink anything. You see, everything is going to be somewhat bad for you, right? Everything is going to be damaging in some way. But here's the thing, for some people it's worse than others. Great example, gluten, right? Some people are celiac, and if they are barely exposed to gluten, it can be a life or death situation, right? They can get extremely ill. For some people, it might just give them more of a stomach ache. For some people, they just might have a small skin reaction to it, right? And you can go down the rabbit hole of, there's chemicals and things and how you have to be careful what you put into your body, and I get that. That being said, I think that there's a lot to this, okay? Everybody has a slightly different genetic makeup, right? We all come from slightly different backgrounds, from genealogies, right, that go way back, our ancestry. Some of our bodies are better geared towards eating rice. Some of us are better geared towards eating bread or potatoes. I know some people who can eat anything and everything in the world and not have any adverse effects. All right. There's some people who have to be extremely careful. They have a lot of autoimmune disorders, right? This also goes into what you put on your body, right? Soap and all that stuff, supplements, vitamins, all these different things, right? And I'm making this video, guys, because there's a spiritual side to this as well. It says in the Bible that we shouldn't condemn people who do things, right? We need to be careful with this because we don't want to be a stumbling block, and we also don't want to put unnecessary burdens on people. If we go around saying, that certain foods are unclean and you shouldn't eat those foods because they're bad for you, well, guys, that can sear or that can mess up a lot of people's conscience when it comes to what they eat. In fact, they found out that a lot of people can have psychosomatic, which means mental issues when it comes to food, because they think every bad feeling they get must stem from the certain food that they just ate. So you really have to be in tune with your body, right? I'm just going to give a couple of examples here from myself, right? So me, I hate the smell of lavender. Absolutely hate it. It is the worst smell on planet Earth, right? It's awful. It is awful, right? I would almost rather smell some of the worst smells known to man over lavender, all right? Lavender is like poisonous fumes to me, okay? But that's probably my body's way of telling me that it does not like lavender, that it's going to reject it, right? And this is true because when I have used products in the past that have lavender in them, I don't react well to it, right? Same goes for a lot of like milk products, right? Milk, ice cream, things like that. My body's just not that great at handling that. On the flip side, I can eat almost anything and everything else, right? But there are certain foods that are harder for me to eat, right? And then there are certain foods that are more difficult to digest and things like that. You see, some people, they go through life and they continue to do the same thing over and over and over that's bad for them. And sometimes they don't take a step back for fear of being an outcast, right? Let's take this a step further. Some people are allergic to alcohol. I'm not here to condemn, I'm not here to condone alcohol. I think that it is okay in moderate amounts if you don't have problems with alcohol, or you're not being a stumbling block to somebody else who has an issue with it, right? Some people are allergic to it, but in some cultures, in some family circles, alcohol is a big thing. If you don't drink, you're seen as a weirdo. You're seen as someone who is, just weird, right? You're kind of an outcast. So there's all these different things we have to keep in mind. But ultimately what it comes down to is, how does something make you feel? Truthfully, right? Here's another example. When I eat peanut butter, right? And this is just the peanut butter that's like peanuts and salt. I notice that my face, especially, breaks out really bad. And when I cut out peanut butter, I'm back to normal, right? There are a multitude of foods that I can eat with no issues whatsoever. There are other foods where, in a sense, you have to eat them on an almost daily basis so that your gut biome, your microbiome, keeps up with it, right? So that you can digest it and eat it without problems. But guys, there are some people out there who just can't handle certain foods or drinks or whatever. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind is, how does it affect somebody? How does it make you feel? If you suspect that there is a food or drink or whatever that is making you feel a certain way, it is okay to cut it out. We live in a culture, in a society these days, where we're almost pressured to do these things, like the example I gave on alcohol, right? It's weird if you don't eat bread with your burger, right? It's weird if you don't have a milkshake. People are going to look at you like you're trying to be, new age and gluten-free, and people are going to laugh at you and whatever, right? Some people are just going to think it's the silliest thing in the world. You're going to be mocked for it, whatever. But it's important, guys, the point I'm getting to here, to do what's good for you, this is important because our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who are too afraid to stop doing something that might be bad for them, to take a step back. And I would even go so far as to say this could be a form of fasting, that you should fast from certain things, foods, just different things that you're trying out, right? Like if your hair and your scalp is really messed up, maybe try a different shampoo, right? These are things that seem so common sense, but to some people, myself included, it can be weird for change. Some people do not like change, and some people are even more afraid of being labeled an outcast or weirdo. Now, when you really think about this, it's pretty silly, right? But a lot of people overlook it. But you have to be real with yourself. You have to look in the mirror. You have to see what's working for you and what's not. And this applies to anything in life, guys. This applies to if you are working out a certain way and it's not working for you, if you're not getting the results that you need to try to find something else. You need to also look at the complete picture. Is your diet in check? Are you hitting the right amount of proteins, carbs, and fats? Are you actually getting closer to your goal? If your goal is to run a marathon and you find out that you're running slower, let's say you try to go out and just run 6 miles one day. You haven't ran in years, but you're going to go run 6 miles. There's a very good chance you're not going to be running very fast at all. Very good chance you're going to develop incredible knee, shin, hip, back pain from this running, right? Because you have to ease into certain things in life as well. All right? You have to pace yourself in life. And you also have to approach things from a realistic perspective. We all want overnight success. We all want the get rich quick. We all want the quick, easy fix, right? There's nothing wrong with efficiency, but we need to make sure that we are keeping everything in check. I would also urge you, do not become super consumed with what I call hyper optimization. This is when you get so paranoid about every little thing you do and how it affects you. Most of it, again, goes back to your mind. If you perceive that something's going to hurt you, it probably will. You can actually make your body feel certain things, right? There are many, many things that are caused from just a psychological standpoint. And guys, I'm saying all this is a little bit different than what I normally talk about, because it's important to sometimes take a step back, look at what we're doing in life, and see if it's actually helping us grow. And the reason I'm saying all this is because there are some things in life that make people feel extremely groggy or extremely cloudy-headed, right? And this affects everything, guys. This can affect how you interact with people, how you are spiritually, how you are when it comes to understanding things, learning new things, being able to relate to others, right? Your everyday well-being. It's crazy. If, for instance, your body is not accustomed, or it can't really process, let's say milk, for instance, right? And then you cut out milk and you find out all of a sudden your brain fog goes away. Well, guys, that could be a sign that you should quit milk, and it's going to be beneficial for you overall. It's going to affect more things than just how you feel. So we should always be making sure that we're trying to be the best versions of ourselves. I truly believe that. We're supposed to walk around in life in joy and peace, right? This does not all stem from the physical, but many things we put into our bodies can sometimes affect our minds. They can affect how we think, how we feel, and it's good to be aware of those things. Because there are some Christians, or people who call themselves that, and they might mean well, but I think this runs a little bit more rampant in conservative circles. You know, the tough mentality, nothing's going to hurt me, nothing can affect me, I'm just going to live life the way I want to live life, right? Sometimes this can run rampant, and you have people who will actually exclude others, put them down, cut them down because they don't do certain things. Paul's very clear on this. And Timothy, we shouldn't let things define us, right? There are going to be people, like there always have been, there's going to be people who say, do not eat this, do not eat that, it's unclean, right? There's going to be people who say that by eating pork, or that by eating certain processed foods or whatever, that you are defiling God's temple. But I thought it was pretty interesting how Jesus said that, you know, it's not what goes into your body, it's what comes out, right? It's what comes out of your mouth. And I think he was making a lot of parallels and illustrations there. You can make a whole video off of that. But the point being is that there's some people who can do certain things better than others. So we need to remember that. We need to remember that everybody's at a different place in life. Now, if we know a brother has a problem with alcohol or certain foods or whatever, then we shouldn't force that upon them, right? If we have them over for dinner or something, we shouldn't, you know, have bacon and eggs if they're adverse to pork, right? Or if they tell us they have a gluten allergy or a milk problem or, you know, whatever, we shouldn't make fun of them. We shouldn't laugh at them. We should just let it be, right? What is one dinner going to be? There's also a verse in the Bible that talks about better is a joyous meal with just herbs, right? With just vegetables, than a feast where there's no joy and no love. So we need to remember that sometimes people have different needs. Sometimes people are going to have different things in life that will affect them differently. This goes for everything, guys. This goes for music, right? Some people are offended by certain music. That doesn't mean we should try to just play that music around them and tell them that they're crazy and tell them that, you know, this is okay, this is fine, right? We should not be a stumbling block. We're supposed to build each other up. There are better ways to talk about those things, right? You can have a quiet discussion. If it comes up, you can bring it up gracefully. But if it's truly an issue for someone, I believe that we're supposed to just let those things be, and the Lord will work on their heart. And I'm speaking from experience here, guys. I used to be that person that looked at people a certain way because they would eat certain things or do certain things, and I would judge them in my heart. I would go, why are you eating that? It's not good for you. Why are you doing that, right? And what happened is, guys, gracefully over the years, God showed me that it's truthfully not what you're doing. It's how you're doing it. It's the heart posture. You see, there's also a lot of people out there, I'm going to be real with you guys, from an earthly, worldly standpoint, who do a lot of unhealthy things, but they're joyful. They don't really overthink things too much. They're not thinking, okay, this is, really bad for me. They're not constantly worrying, constantly anxious about what's going into their mouth and, what they're doing. And they live a long, joyous life. So there's that side of it as well. And I think that's the most important part. There's also verses that talk about how if we receive it with thanksgiving, if we receive whatever, we're doing with thanksgiving, that does something, right? I talked about this in my other video, but if you are in a joyous, peaceful state, your body actually has a different cellular makeup. Your body is actually going to be healthier. It's going to be able to process foods better. It's going to be able to get rid of toxins better. It's going to be more efficient overall, right? That's why joyous people, no matter how bad things might get, they're always so upbeat and thankful because their whole body is just rejoicing, right? So it's important to be like that. And on the flip side, right? Like I said, if you know your brother or sister has a problem with like a food or something, let's say you go over to your friend's house, right? Your good Christian, God-fearing friend, right? Or they invite you out somewhere and they want to get you a burger, or you go over to their house and they have pizza, right? Barring any sort of, extreme allergies or anything like that, guys, I found this to be the case plenty of times. Things like, bread, right? If I eat a bunch of bread, that doesn't agree with me very well either. But it's better that you eat the bread, that you eat the pizza, right? You don't have to gorge yourself, right? But it's better that you do that because you're in the company of friends, you're in the company of people who mean well, right? It would be a bigger offense overall to deny that joy of someone to take care of you than it would be for you to go, hey, Fred, sorry, I'm gluten-free, I don't eat that gluten stuff, okay? We shouldn't be like that because that comes from an egotistical, it's all about me, it's very prideful, right? So something to keep in mind, guys. I know a little bit different from what I normally talk about, but I felt like I should make this video because there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to life, and our bodies are temples and we should respect those temples, right? If your body doesn't agree with certain things, don't force it on yourself, right? And if you're out and about, we shouldn't be pointing fingers at people saying, how dare you eat that? How dare you drink that? How dare... Guys, Christ did away with all of that. In Acts, it said, Paul, I believe, saw a vision that all the foods that the Pharisees deemed unclean were now clean, right? And we're to receive food with thanksgiving, again, unless you have some sort of severe allergy or something, right? You have extremely adverse effects to something, that's a different story, right? So it's good to be mindful of these things. Do what's good for you, right? I'm going to go back to the exercise thing and then I'll close the video out because I think this is really important. Some Christians do not believe in working out. They don't believe in taking care of their bodies, right? There's a balance to everything because gluttony is also a sin, right? You also don't want to become obsessed with working out because it becomes an idol. And you'll burn your body out and you'll feel really bad and you won't have enough time to recover. But there's a verse in the Bible that does talk about working out. It talks about bodily exercise profits a little. And a lot of people will read that and they'll say, oh, well, it only profits a little. I'm not even going to do it. The point of that was, again, I believe, because there's also other verses talking about how there's a race, how the Christian life is a race, right? And if you guys know about history, then you know that back in those times that the sports were huge. It was like the Olympics, right? The Olympics are a big deal now, but like back then it was an even bigger deal. And so people were always training to be really good at certain events. Sports, running was a really big thing. And so we need to remember that it's okay to take care of our bodies as well. Daily exercise, a little bit of daily exercise, it does profit a little. The bigger issue at hand is the spiritual, right? So I'll say this, if it comes down to it, if there's a spiritual need of someone that you can help, if there's a spiritual need that can be taken care of, that you can bless somebody, if someone needs your help and you can help them, right? If there's something that's bigger than what you can do when it comes to working out, I would go ahead and say that the spiritual is obviously more important. Now, if you find yourself week after week after week not being able to make any time for yourself to make yourself healthy, then there's also the issue of, okay, you need to take care of yourself so that you can better take care of other people. You know, it's a scientific fact, guys. For most people, this is crazy, and I found this to be true. 20 minutes of light to moderate cardio, right, which is just anything that gets your blood pumping, whether that's a brisk walk, a jog, walking stairs, riding a bike, whatever that might be. If you do about 20 minutes every single day, or most days, that is one of the best antidepressants out there. They've done studies on this. There is a ton of people who could get off of their antidepressants and things like that by just taking care of themselves a little bit every single day. And also looking and seeing what they're putting into their body if they suspect something might be giving them brain fog, making them feel really bad, cutting it out, replacing it with something else, seeing which foods are maybe more overall healthy, more whole foods, more, closer to what God intended for us to eat. I think that there is some danger when it comes to, extremely processed foods, especially if we're eating them on a very consistent basis. So guys, there it is. Once it comes down to it, we need to think about these things. We need to make sure that we are doing our best so that we can be the best witness for others, so that we can be healthy for our family, we can protect them, so that we can provide for them, so that we can better spread the gospel, so that we can think more clearly, so that we can think sharper, so that we can honor God with our bodies. So guys, if you have anything you want to add, if you need anything at all, again, let me know in the comments below. You can also email me in my channel description. But I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll see y'all at the next one.